So good to go. Good afternoon. It is just after 1. My name is Denise Hatton, Smart Hub Business Manager, and we are coming to you very live from the Smart Hub this afternoon. It's so good to be back in the space, isn't it, Steve? It's wonderful. So welcome to today's HubLive. I have a very special guest with me today, someone who's been on a few HubLives before, maybe a couple. You've done two more HubLives. Steve Grant from iHelp Business Coaching. How are you?
I'm going very well, thanks. It's great to be back and live.
Oh, isn't it?
Not for these people, but for us, it's great to be live.
It is so good to actually be live with another human being in the Smart Hub, which is excellent. It's so nice to have not a virtual backdrop, but the actual Smart Hub media wall, so it's fantastic. Really, really appreciate you joining us today, Steve.
It's been a pleasure, and I hope we can get some useful information out to everybody to help them be successful.
I know we can, because you've been a business coach for a while now, right?
Well, I've been in business as manager or a leader of businesses probably for 30 years or so. So I've been a business coach for
you have a bit of experience.
Business coach for 3 years, yeah.
That's fantastic. Okay, so let's get straight into it. Today we're going to talk about how to make more profit.
Yep.
And let's be honest, profit is really essential for people to be in business. Even not-for-profits need to make a profit so that the business is viable, right? But do you have anything else to add around making a profit? Why should people be very adamant that their business should make a profit?
Okay, well, just stepping back one step, I guess the main thing is that you need more money coming in than you need money going out at the end of the day. Obviously, the worst case scenario is that if you're not making a profit, you go out of business.
Absolutely.
So you go into receivership, or you go into liquidation, or you basically hit the wall. So it's absolutely critical that you stay solvent in respect of your financials, and to keep an eye on those to make sure that you're not going backwards. So if you're looking to generate more profit, honestly, I've said in the beginning that we've got at least 100 ideas. I'm not sure whether we'll actually finish today. There's so many ideas to increase profit, but we'll get it. So worst case scenario is you go out the back door.
Yeah.
The other case scenarios are things like, and I've seen it, depression, anxiety, stress in businesses, where people just fall off the edge mentally. The other aspect of that is the worry of relationships and everything else behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's tough when you are not profitable, when a business isn't profitable. But if that's the situation you're in, no worries. We're going to help you out with more than 100 ideas today that you can use to increase the profit in your business. And what I'd like to suggest is that everyone just has a notebook, and what you do is you note down the 1, 2, or 3 things that you can implement straight away. So just before we get started, hey Monique, hey John, hey Drew, and Mr. Steve Baxter, thank you so much for joining us. Wonderful to see you on this HubLive today. Jessica, thank you for being with us. I'm here with Steve Grant. We're going to talk about how to increase profit. So let's get started straight away. Okay, so Steve, you have come up with an idea which I think really captures what it's like to be a business owner. And you've called it the 8 hats. Okay. And essentially you say that there are 8 hats that every single business owner should and does wear. Yep. Tell us more about that.
Okay, so first one is strategic. That's looking at what your vision, your mission, and specifically what your values are, and also what your goals are as well. So what that does is, if you've got goals in place, and I'll talk about market, sales and services and the others in a minute, but if you have goals in place for each of those, you've got a target to aim for, at least from a strategic perspective. And what your vision is, for instance, is a picture of where your business is in the future. So what that does is then, and I've had another chat with not you with this, but another business coach. And one of the things that we found was one of the bigger errors that people make in business is lack of focus.
Oh, okay.
So if you've got lack of focus, you're all over the place like a dog's dinner. Sorry about that. All over the place like a dog's dinner. So if you have focus and you know where you want to get to, you can build the things around you to get you there.
Okay, so the first hat is strategy. You have to be the strategic thinker in your business. Okay, let's just go through the other 7 and then we can talk about each of them. Sure. So what are they? That's strategy. What's the second one? Marketing, sales, service,
finance, IT, HR, administration.
Beautiful. Okay, so if you just go through them and highlight a couple of things.
So from a marketing perspective, perspective, what you're looking at there is generating inquiries. And that's what the delineation, in my mind anyway, the delineation is between marketing and sales, is that it's just there to generate inquiries. As soon as somebody touches your business, whether it's online, whether it's in person or any other way, then that's when sales starts. And what happened is then at the time of sales hitting, somebody hitting your business at a touch point, then you need best practice in place at that particular point. Be able to convert them to a client. And that's important. So you need all the tools and the skills and the sales skills. That we'll touch on some of those a little bit later. So the next one is service, which is about retention. So what you're looking at there is clients that may leave, there's going to be clients that go. But what you want to do is, the profitable business is continually grow the number of people that are in your customers, that are your customers. So you can do that by providing exceptional customer service. And a lot of businesses I see fail in that area as well. So they think that it doesn't matter how I treat somebody, they're just going to come back anyway. And that's not the case, because there's other people out there who just don't come back. So financials are, in my mind, again, I'm controversial here, but my mind is that financials are a record of your business decisions. So that if you bought a car, then that's a business decision that's going to impact on your business. If you're going to put somebody else on from a HR perspective, then you're going to have some people coming on board, increasing your costs, which we're going to touch on this later on from a financial perspective. So the next one is financial service, and we got finances, and we'll touch IT. Okay, so information technology is about being efficient, and it's about being effective in what you do. So what can you do to increase productivity by implementing some form of technology? Next one will be human resources. It's all about people. Get the wrong people in your business and it'll break. There's no doubt about it. Okay. Administration is the glue that holds everything together. So they're talking, administration people normally in a medium-sized business maybe is talking to the rest of the business to implement things such as policies and procedures to help you improve efficiencies and improve productivity as well.
Awesome. Hey Jay, thank you so much for joining us. I think just from those 8 hats, the ones that really resonate with me are the marketing, sales and service, right? That's the engine of the business. And I love that you mentioned that finance is really the record of the decisions that you've made in those 3 areas. And when marketing brings the person, the lead in, sales converts that lead from a lead to a customer, and then service keeps that customer coming back over and over again. Okay, so how do we use this to make a profit? Like, how does that work? I think you have a really interesting 5% rule. Tell us more about that.
Okay, 5% rule, there's 2 of them actually. I'm going to touch on the first one, which is a little bit different what has been asked, but it's to do with finance. So I'm going to put this up on the board.
Yes, whiteboard, yay.
Here we go.
Let's do it.
So if we've got, let's put an S for sales of $1,000. Actually, just bear with me for 1 sec. I'll move this over so I've got the room. It does go over. So sales, $1,000. Cost of goods sold is $300.
So this is an example, yeah?
Yeah. So we've got gross profit. This is basic stuff, okay? So $700 there. And then we've got operating expenses of $700. So we're going to make this guy have a 0 net profit.
Okay. So his decisions lead to not losing money and not making any money. Okay.
So here comes the 5%. If you've got, in terms of your sales, if you add 5% to that, 1050. Okay. If you reduce your costs here, it's going to be $285. Okay, which gives you a gross profit of $765. Okay, and then we've got operating expenses. If you can save on the $700, it gives you $665, which gives you $100. And you might say, what can you do? That's really sensational, Steve. But in normal businesses, we're not talking about $1,000. We're talking about millions of dollars. So if you're 5%, let's just add a few noughts here. So if you've been able to generate 5% more sales, say 5% on cost of goods, we're going to touch on how to do that later on all of these. It gives you a gross profit of $765. Looking at operating expenses of $665, and you're looking at $100,000 at the end of the day. Okay, so that's the 5% rule number one. We'll touch on that one a little bit later.
Okay, let's just quickly recap that. So the 5% rule is either to increase the areas that you need to increase or reduce the areas that you need to reduce by 5%. So if you ask yourself, if you're in business today, can I increase my sales by 5%? Surely that sounds like an extremely achievable goal, right? Can I reduce my cost of goods by 5%? Again, an extremely achievable goal. And then can I reduce my operating expenses by 5%? And if you were to do that, if you actually put your figures of your business down and you increase and decrease the 5%, then you'll see that your profit, in theory, will increase a lot.
What I can suggest you do is, just for an exercise for everybody out there to do, is go back to your 1920 results and do this exercise and just see how much money you could have made if you were looking at, if you implemented the 5% rule in your business.
Yeah, excellent. So how are we going to do this, Steve?
Okay. What we're going to do is through marketing and sales, I'm on the whiteboard again.
Yeah, I usually love a show and tell, but this is even better. This is whiteboarding, taken to the next level.
Right, yeah.
Hey, Brendan, thank you for joining us. Great to see you. Hey, if you have any questions, please feel free to put those in the comments and we'll be sure to give them to Steve and see if we can answer them for you. So any questions? Okay, so to increase our sales by 5%, we're just writing down all the areas.
Right,
Yeah.
So let's say we, in our marketing, this is current, we generate 1,000 leads per week. Okay, and we've got an average sale of $100. Okay, so we've got a conversion rate here of 20%. Okay, that obviously gives us 200 clients. Okay, we've sort of got into marketing as a result of the touch points that in marketing we've been able to transfer those back into clients back to $200. So service, I'm just going to call this referrals because we're going to touch on it a little bit later. Referrals.
Okay, so I'm just guessing that the idea here is that you do such a great job in servicing your customers that they refer people to you.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
Okay.
But at the moment you're doing a pretty ordinary job because you have no referrals at all.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so what this means here is, in financial terms, is you've got 200 clients times 100. Sorry, we got to go again.
I'll just, hey John, thank you for joining us, John Walker. Thank you. If you have any questions, please feel free to pop them in.
Times $100. 200 times 200 times 100. So that's not there. Sorry, I'll get this right. Okay.
So you have 200 customers spending $100 with you.
Yep.
So over 52 weeks, is that $100 a week?
Yes.
Okay. So how much are we making? What's our revenue?
Okay, that's what we're making out of that. Okay. So that's the total number that we've got for that scenario in respect of the current circumstances.
Okay, so $1,040,000.
Okay. So if we increase marketing, this is the 5% comes in. Okay, so if we've increased our marketing and we've got now 1050, okay, 5%, we've got then plus 5% to our 20% here is now 25%. Hope you can all understand this. Okay, so we've got 1,050 times 25%. Equals 263 clients now as compared to the 200.
Okay, so let's just recap that. So what we've done is we've said this is where our business is currently. We have 1,000 leads a week and we've increased that by 5%, which now means we have 1,050 leads for that week. And the sales has the conversion has increased by 5%.
Yep.
So now out of these we convert 25%, which is 263 customers as opposed to the 200.
That's
And we're just going to do the same across all of these levels. So increase by 5%. Okay, show us what happens.
So as a result of the exceptional service, we also now, because of word of mouth and because we have our clients now as advocates, we now have got in the sales and referral side, we've got 10 extra clients, which is an extra $100 equals $1,000. Okay. So in financial terms, what that means is we've got 263 clients times the $100.
Still spending just $100 over 52 weeks. Yeah.
52 weeks.
Right.
Gives us equals $1,367,000.
Right. So instead of $1,040,000, we now have $1,367,000 as our revenue.
And we're going to multiply that 1,000 by 52 as well.
Yeah.
So that gives us 52,000.
Nice. And we add that to our revenue, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So if we have, where are we here? 52. Okay. So we'd add those together, and that gives us 1,419,000. That's that.
Yeah. Plus the
Plus that.
1.367.
So as you can see, the difference we've had is that compared to that.
Yeah. So that's really good. That's almost close to a $400,000 increase in your revenue annually.
Okay.
Yeah.
What that equates out to is, in the long run, I won't write it up on the board because we're running out of space. It adds up to a 27% increase over 5 years is $1.895 million. Okay.
And all just by increasing by 5%, 5%, 5%, getting 10 referrals. That seems very, very doable.
Very doable. If you just stick it up, you can plug your own numbers in here.
Yeah. If
you know how many inquiries you get, the important aspect of that is you understand that you've got to get your marketing right first up. You've got to know who your client is, and we're going to touch on that a little bit later on. Who your client is, go to those profitable clients, build on profit, and you'll increase the numbers. But if you're not spending your marketing money on, if you're just generalising across the board and not targeting, then you're not going to. The best way to get your 5% is start to target.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the first bit of, if I can suggest some homework, if you want to increase your profit, the first thing will be to, that's exactly what Steve suggested, take your 18, 19 financials and play around with these numbers and see what will happen in your business if you increase the strategic elements in your business by just 5%. I see also, Steve, if you have a 1%, 10%, I mean, this 5% is a guideline, right? You could do it, even if you increased these strategic drivers by 1%, what would happen with your revenue? And then also, if we go back to the previous board where we also had cost of goods and operating expenses, if you decrease those by 1%, what would happen in your business? And play around with those numbers and see what's possible in your business and settle on a percentage, 1, 2, 3, 10% that you feel confident that you can achieve, because we have to push forward to become more profitable. Yeah. And what we're going to share now is some really practical how-tos to actually get that done, right? Yeah. Okay, excellent. Okay, so where do we go from here?
We're going to start with revenue.
Perfect. Okay. Revenue.
So a number of ways to increase your revenue. The simplest way, obviously, is to increase your price.
Yeah.
If we've got $1 million, we want to increase by 5% and get to the $1.050 million. An increase in price is an easy way to do it. So if you want to make an extra 50 grand and you're making $1 million, increase your price.
Yes, yes. But what do we say to people who go, oh, if I increase my prices, I would lose customers?
Well, what happens there is that I tend to, with my own clients, what I do is I do a trial. I say, trial just for 1 month, get your response. Are the number of clients that you are winning or losing changing?
Yes.
And so what happened was, I mentioned this to a client just recently, I actually always ring an accountant to say, these are the circumstances, the financial circumstances of this particular person. What do you think the price should be? Because they've got lots of clients in that industry, no doubt. And in this particular client, they said, just increase by $5, which is more than 5%. There's less than $100 per hour. And so what happened was he did a quote within a very, the next day he won a client with the increase in price.
Nice. And I think that's really at the heart of running business. You have to manage experiments. You have to do tests. Yeah. So you need more data to make good decisions, and you can't get the data without taking tiny affordable risks.
Exactly, yeah.
And so you should run tests and take affordable risks so that you can constantly move the boundaries of what you think is possible to see what the environment's response is.
Yeah.
And the great thing about being in business is you can always do something different if something didn't work out.
Yeah.
But at least you know what not to do, instead of thinking, staying in your own mind and not ever changing anything in your business. Because if that's what you're doing, you are not going to increase your profit.
Exactly,
Let's be honest.
And the other thing that's critically important when you're looking at price is your competition. What is your competition doing? Are they charging more already than you? And you might be getting a lot of businesses as a result already of your low price. But is that generating a profit for you that you really want? This is the question that you ask yourself. So what I would do in that instance would be I'd be ringing around and do some shop calls to your competitors to ask them what their pricing is per hour, if it's an hourly rate, or what their product rate is, or so on. So find out. Do that research for you first before you increase your price, because you don't want to go too. If you're already higher than your competitors, you don't want to go too high. So it's a fine line.
Yeah, but there's also positioning in the market. Sometimes you might want to be the most expensive product or service in the market.
Absolutely.
Your service can fit that, suit the level. Yeah, absolutely. Good on you. It's almost easier to be at the top than it is to be in the middle, right? Yeah, brilliant. Okay, Andrew, Debbie, Lisa, thank you for joining us. So I'm loving all the new people. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask Steve. I just pop them in the comments and we'll answer them. I have a separate screen here, so if you see me looking away from the camera, that's because I'm monitoring the comments, but there are none. So please ask, please ask us questions. And of course, the topic is how to increase your profits. Right, so the 5% rule, you can do 5%, 3%, 2%, but now we're looking at how to do that. And starting with revenue, increase your prices, number one. What's number two?
Is increase the average transaction dollar amount per customer. So what you're looking at there is increasing the number of sales. So we're looking at bundling, we're looking at packaging, we're looking at upselling and cross-selling. And a lot of people say, see, I'm really scared to do upselling and cross-selling, but you go to McDonald's and a 15-year-old kid is telling you, do you want chips with that?
Yeah.
And what do you need? Would you like a meal with that burger?
Yeah.
So if a 15-year-old kid can do it, it's just a question you would ask. I always say this because I reckon it's sensational. This guy, I never buy it, but he always asks me for chocolates when I go into the service station on Canning Street in Rocky. There's only one guy who does it, but I reckon he would be increasing the profit for that business by asking every customer goes in, would you like a cherry ripe or something like that, whatever it is. And it's just a simple question, and your answer is either yes or no. You either want the cherry ripe, you don't want the cherry ripe. At the end of the day, it's such a simple thing, isn't it?
It is. It's extremely simple. And what I've noticed is, especially in retail, the businesses that seem to be able to fly through the COVID crisis that we're currently experiencing are the businesses who have really great point of sale upsell strategies.
Yes.
So you're standing there with credit card in hand, ready to pay for whatever you want. And they make like 7 irresistible offers. Do you also want this bag for $5? Do you want this thing for $3? Do you want that thing? And if you take everything, it's only $20. And so we're increasing the average dollar sale. And again, just experiment. Because if you want to change, if you want to make more money, ultimately, you do need to be comfortable with changing a few things in your business. And doing it as we've always done it is not going to lead to any different results in the future. So why not have some fun, put some things at your point of sale, think about the problems that buying a specific item might create. So I know that's really a good idea when you're thinking about buying anything like this gardening stuff or building stuff. So you buy a thing and that's creating another problem. Maybe you need safety gear, maybe you need, a new whatever, a widget. Think about the problems and offer people those solutions as an upsell.
Good example that I used to remember was I used to go and buy suits in a previous life in Melbourne and Sydney in previous roles. And basically what happened was I go in and buy a $1,000 suit and the guy would say, would you like a tie with that? And the tie's worth about $20 and I've just spent $1,000 and I thought, oh, well, fair enough, I'll just buy a tie. Like, would you like a shirt with that?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like Van Houston shirts, if they put one of those in me, I couldn't resist anyway. So it's just an upsell. It's just such a simple thing for a salesman to say.
Yeah.
And we're all salesmen. All those hats that I talked about before, the strategic side of things, marketing, sales and service, the leader of an organisation, if it's a very small business, even a micro business, is all of those things. But obviously, you can delegate to some people if you do have staff. But but you're still the strategic leader.
Yeah, absolutely. And train every single person on your team to do this. Every single person needs to know how to ask. Would you also like this, or would you like to take advantage of this or that? Hey, Danielle, thanks for joining us. Hope you're doing really well. Ask Steve a question. I need a question in the comments so that I can ask Steve. Okay, let's move on. Revenue.
So the next one is to increase the number of transactions per customer.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the whiteboard, and I'll just run through this one. Okay, so we've got a coffee shop. Okay, and we've got this particular person buys 2 coffees per week. Okay, at $5. Okay, equals obviously $10. Okay, and we're going to say they work 48 weeks, and that gives us $480. Okay, that's in a full year.
Coffee purchases by individual A.
So this particular, I don't know, you would not believe the amount of coffee that's sold in Rockhampton. It is absolutely amazing. The amount of coffees that are sold a day, this is not an unrealistic number. You multiply that by 300, so if you multiply this by 300 customers, you will get equals 144,000.
Okay, so we have 300 people buying $5 worth of coffee, no, $10 worth of coffee a week, and we're selling $144,000 worth of coffee.
Okay, so we're going to talk about implementing things like a loyalty program. We might do a promotion on tastings. We might improve the coffee that we've got. We might improve the service that we actually provide to a customer. So all of a sudden, we've gone to 3 per week at $5. I look at the screen and work out $15. That's a bit sad, isn't it? Equals $15 times your 48 equals $720 times your 300 customers. You can do that with every customer. Gives you 216,000.
Okay, so by increasing the number of coffees a single person buys in a week by 1 extra coffee, so they went from 2 coffees to 3 coffees, and keeping the number of customers the same, so we don't have any new customers, we're just getting people to buy 1 more coffee a week, we've increased our business's revenue to $216,000 as opposed to the $144,000 before. That's a really great increase. I think what all of your strategies indicate, Steve, is that it's good to start with where you are and with what you have. And if you make tiny incremental improvements, it could have a profound effect on how much revenue you make and also then on how ultimately on your profit margin. Okay, this is really great.
I think you're right, but when you said something before, you picked out of the 8 hats, the top 3. This is all about marketing, sales, and service. Okay. If you've got the right strategies in place, this is not impossible. Because if you've and you've got customer lifetime value in this as well. So that if you're marketing to everybody that you need to market to, the coffee drinkers, and you're converting the sales over, and you're actually providing an exceptional service. At the end of the day, that 3 is a very possible number, and look what you get.
Massive increase in
Massive
revenue.
increase.
To be happy with that.
Absolutely. Small incremental changes.
Absolutely. Hey Ron, thank you for joining us. I hope you're going super well. Please ask any questions. Okay, where do we go from here?
Okay, next one for increasing revenue is increase your number of customers. Okay, and we don't have to go too far to know how to do that. We're looking about marketing, it's about targeting and getting more customers through the door and converting those. That's the sales process, I guess. Is once they're at your office or in your coffee shop, wherever they are, then we're looking to do that. Service them to death is what the management should be. Provide exceptional service is the thing that's going to get you, particularly in a place like Rockhampton, word of mouth. If you fail in that service, it goes the other way, obviously, then you start losing money and your profits are down to level.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I would really like to suggest is for I know that every single, well, not every single, but I know that many business owners have marketing ideas rattling around in their head that they are either are too busy, or B, either are too hesitant to execute.
Yeah.
So again, write down your top 3 marketing ideas and just put a little bit of money to the marketing and run some special offers.
Yeah.
You know, do that thing that you've now been thinking about for a long time. Back yourself and take a small, affordable risk. If it doesn't work, just stop it and try something else.
Perfect.
And as I've been saying to my team with marketing, you usually know within the first 48 hours whether your marketing strategy is working or not. So give it a couple of days. If it doesn't work, if it's not producing any new leads, just stop. Now you know, okay, the market doesn't resonate with that. Just go to your next strategy. But make time in your schedule every single week to think about marketing, because that's step 1 of increasing your number of customers.
Yeah, exactly right. Okay, next step is cost of goods sold. Okay.
Cost of goods,
okay.
yes.
So I'll just read directly off here because there's only a couple of these that I've got. Number 1 is negotiate with suppliers on the cost of the product or service, whatever is being provided. And also negotiate freight. There's another one that you can look at. There's things such as freight brokers that you can get in contact with, who will find the best price for you for somebody who's actually going to deliver at your site. So there's one thing there. The next thing is to buy in bulk and receive discounts. I know one of my clients does that to the nth degree, and he saves an absolute bucket load. He keeps the existing recommended retail price on those items, of course, and makes a killing. So that's a...
Steve, can I interrupt
Sure.
you? You said negotiate with your suppliers. Now, as a strategy, that seems pretty simple to do.
Yep.
But for someone who's never negotiated with the suppliers, can you provide a couple of lines that someone could say over the phone or in an email? Just like, how do you start that conversation?
Okay. What you need to do is, in the first instance, is step back and have a goal and objective of what you actually want to achieve.
Yeah.
So that if you're looking for the 1% or the 2% or the 5% or the 10%, at least have an objective in place. A particular strategy you could use if you're going for 5%, start off with a higher number, and then say, listen, I would like a 10% reduction on that. So I don't know how you do it in terms of doing a win-win type situation where the customer continues to win, but it maybe is using some of these things in here in terms of buying in bulk, and say, listen, we've got a, it's just a question really at the end of the day, isn't it?
It is literally a question.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
That's all it is. I'm trying to think of something really smart to say, but at the end of the day, it is a question to say, listen, I'm a valued customer. Like the things you could talk about is I'm a valued customer of yours. I've been with you for 10 years. This was about time that, you know, we work together a little bit closely, and you don't threaten to go elsewhere, but you could say that there's an opportunity to go elsewhere. And in fact, that's one of the things that I've got down here is that you can go elsewhere if the supplier doesn't come to the party. You know that you can get the product somewhere else cheaper. Change.
Yeah.
Change suppliers.
It's actually as simple as just asking. Yeah. And we did a lunch and learn with Daniel Johnson a couple of weeks ago, I think it is now, that you can find on our videos that were saved. And he spoke about asking, and he had a whole formula about how to ask. But essentially, it boils down to asking that question. Just ask it in an email, ask it on the phone, I think in person and email. In-person question and follow up by email is probably the best strategy. And just ask, can you give me a discount on that?
Yeah, that's right. I just had a client who's moved into a second shed in Rocky, and the rent was $3,000. And he just asked the question, listen, it's a little bit high, can you what about 2,750?
Yeah.
Guy said, yep, no worries.
Yeah, excellent.
$250, more than 5%.
We actually had feedback from one of our members who got $1,000 off something achievable by simply asking for a discount. So just ask. You have nothing to lose. You're at no now if you don't ask.
Yeah, that's right.
You might as well.
If you've got an alternative, then you can always go that way as well.
Okay, so negotiate with your suppliers.
Negotiate with suppliers, buy in bulk, change suppliers, which I've talked about, and secure a long-term reduced price.
Yeah, so again, that's a conversation that you have to have,
yes,
right?
That's right.
Yeah, and there's a great book that is Negotiate to Death. I forget the author, but if you have challenges negotiating, read that book. It's really great book.
Yeah, so hopefully you've got some ideas there to go forward on cost of goods sold. The next one is operating expenses. the line that I've underlined here is, and I tell my client to do this, is to scrutinise every line in your chart of accounts. I'm going to give you an example of one that you probably haven't even thought of in a second, but I'll touch on a few others. Number one, sorry, accountants fees. Okay, I'm not saying you change those every year, but if you've been with the same accountant for a long time, it might be worthwhile just asking for a second price there. Okay, the advertising costs. Again, I've got a client who was spending $60,000 on his business, and Alicia just alluded to it. He found something that worked exceptionally well. I've got 2 clients who do this actually. Found something that worked exceptionally well. So what he's done, he's dropped some of the older ideas that he had. He's concentrating on this, spending $40,000 a year and getting more clients.
Yes. So absolutely. So the only way in which you can reduce your advertising costs is if you test and measure your advertising results. Yeah. So if you're not testing and measuring your results, then there will be no way for you to know where your customers or your leads are coming from. But when you do, and you're testing little new ideas, and you find something that really works in your market, you can spend more money on that idea and reduce your advertising in other ways. And if you're onto a killer idea, yeah, you'll probably buy a lot more leads for a lot less money. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So test and measure your results.
And one idea was actually a magazine. This particular client found that sold his type of product, and all of a sudden went bang and went off like firecracker, which is unbelievable.
Nice, really good, yeah. Nice. And then get rid of the billboard next to the road that never brings a customer. I'm not saying that that's the case, but whatever. I'm just using that as an example, as the thing that actually doesn't contribute to your marketing.
Okay. The next one is your insurance costs. When I first started off as a business coach, I got a background in insurance, so I know a bit about it. I went into a client and said, let me have a look at your chart of accounts and your financials. I saw the insurance number when a mechanic was around about 14 grand. And I said to him, this seems a bit high. Why don't you just ask another broker for a price based on apples for apples in terms of excesses and everything. So he went to this other broker and went from $13,800 to $6,800. Apples for apples, everything was the same, excesses were the same. So look at that aspect. I'm sorry for all the insurance brokers out there. Look at insurance rates on loans. Okay, so if you might consider a consolidation, you might consider a change in supplier. You might just try and find ways to actually save on those dollars. If you've got a credit card, try and find someone who charges cheaper interest. Go for a 12-month interest free. All these little things add up to money at the end of the day. Okay, so here we go. Here's one that I bet you thought never thought of.
Okay, that's a big ask.
You may have thought about money.
Okay, you going to write on the whiteboard?
Yeah, we write on the whiteboard.
Okay, so one has asked that you write at least 3 times bigger.
3 times
so
bigger.
That everyone can see.
Okay.
Thanks, Ryan.
Okay, so what I'm going to talk about here is your motor vehicle costs. Now, if you're a transport company, you're really heavily involved in looking to try and save $1 here and there. So what I'm going to do is 11 litres, okay, and 1,000 kilometres, okay, per, okay, so that's 11 litres per 1,000 kilometres, which is about where my car is at the moment, okay, per week. You have that by numbers here, don't add up. Oh, okay, so that's 11 times 10 equals 110 litres. Okay, so we've got 110 litres there per times 52 weeks equals $5,720. Okay. Okay. And if you put this down to, say you bought a hybrid car, you buy a hybrid car, or you start pumping up your tyres, or you get your vehicle serviced properly and all those different types of things, and you put in a motor vehicle driver's policy, which means that you don't have any aggressive drivers. All of a sudden you go to 10 litres per 10,000, per 1,000 kilometres, sorry. Okay, so that gives you 10 times 10 equals 100 litres. Okay, times 52 equals 5,200. Okay, so that gives you a saving. Okay, so it's $1.16 a litre. 16 a litre. That gives you 16 equals. I've got it down up to 6,000. Sorry, I've got the numbers wrong here. 6,030. So that's not working out well for us. Okay, so what happens is at the end of the day, if you've got the saving here of the $520 over that period of time, if you drop 10 cars, that gives you a saving of $5,200 in 1 year.
Awesome. So doing basic maintenance on your car, keeping your tyres inflated to the right level. Not sure if that's the.
I've actually got a checklist
Right,
that's got about 30 ideas on it that you can do to reduce your costs, and do with air conditioning and servicing and so on. So
Of motor vehicle costs.
saving on motor vehicle costs to get that to that 10%.
Okay, will you share that with us?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. So there's a checklist of 30 things that you can do to decrease your costs of your motor vehicles. Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Okay.
Ron, Carolyn, Chris, Murray, thank you for joining us. Really great to see you. We're talking about how to increase your profit, and at the moment we're speaking about how to reduce your costs. We've spoken about increasing your average dollar sale, increasing the number of transactions they do, increasing your customers, and now we're looking at how to decrease some of your costs. Okay, what's our next idea?
The next one that we talked about was rent. We've already touched on that one, so we just need to negotiate rent at the time of renewal, or at the time you're going in if you're a small business starting up, as you're going into the business. Telephone. If you're looking for, I'll give myself an example. I was paying $89 a month just on one mobile phone. I went back to the carrier and I got it reduced to 49. So little changes like that make a major difference. So I'd say $40 per month, which is a 45% saving.
Yeah, I've actually done exactly the same.
Yeah. Okay. So utilities, get your discounts up early. So if there's a discount for an early payment, make sure you take advantage of that. Look at energy orders. Look at make sure your electricity tariff rate is correct. All of those little things. If you go into the nth degree on most of these items in your expense account, then in your chart account, operating expenses, then you'll find something.
And again, we're looking for a 5%, 10% reduction overall.
Yeah.
So if you reduce everything by a little bit of money, it's going to be a big saving at the end.
Absolutely, yeah. So the little thing like saving $40 may not sound a lot per month, but when you add it up over a full year, it gets up there a couple $100. And a couple $100 is money that I can now spend on marketing.
Yeah, well, it's $460, and even if that goes into your profit, that's nice. It's a nice gift at the end of the year for your business. Yeah.
So one thing is, this is a bit of a twist on saving money, but the last one is wages, and looking at the cost of transferring your people from a cost centre, which means that they're just in the back room, to somebody who's actually generating money in some way or form. So what you can do is look at their responsibilities to say, okay. Let's give an example. I'll make something up. Okay, so you've got something going, it's 100% administration. And what you do is you say to this person, okay, Joe Blocks, you've got 5% of extra time that I can see you're unproductive. How about if we put you in a sales role in respect of that 5% of your time? And if you happen to win a client, well, that's going to be great for the organisation. So try and think about how you can have your people who are an actual cost to you, how you can get them to generate an income within your organisation so that they're paying for themselves rather than somebody else paying for them.
Nice.
Okay. And as I said before, the most important thing is to do that is have it going around, have that money churning around and around. So if you can generate a savings, put it back into marketing. That'll give you more opportunity to get to your 5% and your 1,050 we talked about before. You'll be able to, if you improve in respect of your sales approach and use sales funnels and all those types of technologies as well. There's all those opportunities. So it's just a churning of money that goes around. But you've got to look at those three areas: the marketing, sales, and service.
Yeah. At the heart of the business. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. The next one.
What is the next one?
The next one is research. is to know your profitable clients. I have got something here to go. So what you're looking at there is to know your profitable clients. Courtney, we might go to this thing here. So the first one is demographics. I just put into the computer Bureau of Statistics Rockhampton. I just wanted to show you what actually comes up here. Some absolutely vital information that you might need to know about your clients. And it's readily available. I didn't have to go into any sites or just the Bureau. It actually had Bureau of Statistics Rockhampton. I just went straight into there, and this is the sort of stuff.
And it's free.
And
all
it's
of
free.
this information is free.
Yeah, absolutely. So just slide up and down every thought you said people have a quick squeeze of all that.
So we're just also looking at the screen.
Yeah. So you have ready access to all of this information on the internet. It just goes on and on and on. So if you want to know how many females there are, how many males there are in Rockhampton, you can find that out. If you want to know what how many cars there are, all this types of information is absolutely vital for your organisation.
Okay, so if we go into this statistics, Bureau of Statistics for Rockhampton, and we see all the stats, how do we implement this information, this data, into our decision making around customers? Okay, what does that mean?
So what we're trying to do is build a customer avatar. Okay, so who is I call it the ideal customer. A lot of people call that avatar, so I use the term avatar. So what is our ideal avatar client look like? Yeah. Okay.
And why should we know that, Steve? Let's just look at that first.
Let's say, I'll give you an example. Okay, so I have a client who, when I went to him, he said, Steve, all I ever get is tire kickers. Okay. And so what we decided to, what he wanted to do was increase his profit and get people who are actually buying his product rather than just kicking the tires and not buying. So we looked at some of this information and decided that we needed people in the luxury areas, and we worked out that we had from there people. The avatar would end up being farmers, tradies, and professional people. Then once we know that, then we can bend our marketing towards those people. So if you're looking for four-wheel drive vehicles, for instance, which we're looking for, if you're looking for four-wheel drive, your marketing has four-wheel drive vehicles in it. If you're looking for females, you have a four-wheel drive with a female attached to it. And what that does is target, being able to specifically target precisely where you're going to.
Okay, so here's something that's extremely counterintuitive, and at the Smart Hub we see a lot of people who are just starting businesses, who are starting startups, and one of the biggest mistakes that you can make in business is to say, my product and service is for everyone. Everyone in the world can be my customer. And if you think about that, that's actually quite difficult to do if you're in business. If you think, well, there are 7 or maybe even almost 8 billion people on this earth, every single one of those shouldn't and can never be your customer. And so if you're trying to talk to all of those people, you're going to talk to nobody because you won't resonate with anyone specific. And so what Steve just said is absolutely key. If your target market, if your ideal customer or your avatar is a male, then you're going to speak very differently to that person than you would if it's a female. And then if we think about demographics, further segmenting those demographics, so drilling down even more. If your target market is male and 18, you're going to talk to that person differently to what you would if that person is male and 48. And so you want to know who your ideal customer is. Can't be everybody. The more specific and narrow you can make that picture, the easier it is to capture that person's attention. And when you capture their attention, that's when you can bring them to your business, and that's when you can start the sales process. So if you're not clear on who your ideal customer is, this work is essential to do.
You've got to know who wants to buy your product at the very, very beginning. If your product is out of the price range, for instance, of some people, then you've probably seen that list there. Some demographics in respect of income. Okay, so say this politely. What you need to do is look at, if you're looking for luxury items to sell, you might be looking at the range, or you might be looking at French food, or you might be looking at some areas in the Central Coast. So what you can do is in your social media is
Target.
Yeah. Go for those areas. You know where your clients are. Exactly.
Yeah, and that is in some ways the most incredible thing about social media is that if you can target it so granularly.
Yeah, it is.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Okay. So we're running out of time, so I might, if you don't mind, we'll just touch on some of the things
Keep
very
running,
quickly.
Steve.
Okay, so psychographics is the next one. That's the lifestyle, the attitudes, the interests and values of the people that you're trying to get to. So let's say, quickly, I'll use the interest part there. But if you find that, I don't know, you're a uniform seller for sports organisations, you need to find out people who are interested in buying your product, who are involved in sport. So how do you, where are those people? There are football clubs and so on. Okay, so the next one is geographics. I've just got down here that you could be geographics, maybe a street, a suburb, a city, an area in a CQ, a state of Queensland, a country, maybe specific countries like the Eurozone, or a continent like Asia. You've got to be able to narrow that information down to precisely in where the geographics are. So if, let me give you another example, if I think of something. Let's say you're selling an equipment, a piece of equipment, and this is a real example actually. So if you buy equipment, it's worth $200,000. Okay, it's a massive machine, but you're going to have to charge $4 per kilometre to get it to Perth. No one's going to buy it in Perth. Okay, so your area is Queensland. Okay, so or an area within Queensland. It's not Perth because the cost of actually getting it there are going to outweigh the benefit to the client to actually purchase it from CQ. Okay, that's the next one. Next one is behavioural, and this is all about the experiences with your brand. Okay, so how do they buy your product? What are their purchase patterns? What are their previous purchases of the type of product that you sell? What's their awareness of your business and the product range? So, so you need to look at, from a behavioural perspective, what need or want you are satisfying, what problem you are solving, and what desire you're fulfilling, and reinforce that message through education and selling stuff.
Awesome.
Okay. Now, I have got an example here, but I won't go into it because we're just going quite far. What you do is, when you have your avatar, you take into account the demographics, the psychographics, the geographics, and the behavioural segmentations, and you look at, okay, my ideal client is this person, write it down on a piece of paper, know who that person is, and market directly to them.
Absolutely. Hey, Aaron, thank you for joining us. Great to see you here. If you have a question for Steve about how to increase your profit, please be sure to put it in the comments and we'll get to answer your questions soon.
Thank you. Next one is high turnover, high profit. The trick here is to sell more of your high turnover, high profit items. If you have a low turnover, high profit item, the trick there is to market more to make that your high profit, high turnover item. And that's going to increase your income. So let's hope this one works. This one didn't work all that well. Yeah, be truthful.
Okay, just write big. Remember to
Just
keep
write
it big. Keep it big.
Okay, so you've got a wholesale price of $100, and the recommended retail price is $150, and that gives you 50%. Let's say 50%, right? Okay, so times 1,000 customers equals 1,500. Okay, 150,000. Okay, so product number 2 is also valued at $100. Recommended retail price is $200, which is a 100% markup. Times your 900, because if you lost a few clients because you've reduced your price, and this is where the experimentation comes in, you don't want to get that to be more than $900. It gives you 180,000. So you've made an extra $30,000 with a reduction of 100 clients, but you've now got, you're selling a higher value product, and so you're going to make more money. It's very basic, but you get the gist of it later.
Yeah. So basically prioritize the products or services that have good profit margin. Yeah, and try and sell a lot of those.
Yeah. So what happens, I'll give you an example. I used to be a business development manager. I used to look for multi-million dollar accounts. And so what used to happen was I worked out that if you actually approach an association, because of the, you need to look at where the revenue structure is as well. So if you looked at the income you would generate from $1 million client, as distinct from going to an association where you would pick up 5,000 clients worth of $1 million, we actually made more money out of that particular type of client. So what happened was I started approaching all the associations, and we picked up some associations as a result of the negotiations we entered into. So a lesson to learn from that is what is it that you can do to get more clients in for the same effort? Okay, and make more money. Okay, so who is your association? If you're a mechanic, are there large businesses in town that you can approach to get 50 vehicles instead of trying to get the ones or two through the door?
Yeah, absolutely. That reminds me, I'm so cautious not to speak too much because I can see Steve rushing, but I'll just, I will tell just a 30-second story. I remember working with a client as well who did this look at their most profitable clients. And what they saw is that the vast majority of the work was, what's the word now? I can't even think of the word, I'm rushing, was going to supporting people who were not profitable. And so what they did to increase their profit was to simply sack 80% of their customers and reduce their operating expenses. And they instantly quadrupled their profit by just servicing their top 20% customers. And that's a really good strategy again. So think about who is the ideal person who will also provide the maximum profit and that you can service today, and then structure your business to do business with those people.
That's parameter, isn't it?
Yes.
Parameter, 80-20 rule. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so next one is to change your target customers and looking at the marketing message. We've already covered that one, so I won't touch it. So the marketing message is absolutely critical. If you want to change your market, you need to look at, let's use the mechanic again. If you've got the tyre kickers, what is it that you want to change to? Do you want to change to luxury items, or do you want to change to heavy duty items? Do you want to change to the type of vehicle that's going to generate the most profit, I guess, at the end of the day? So that market message has to be in tune with your customers. So you've got to make them feel like they're luxury clients. And so it's something you need to be aware of in terms of that message. If you want to go in cheap, like a couple of stores in Eastern. Okay, so they're going in cheap. They're relying on a massive amount of turnover for the products they've got, which are less than $5 or very, very cheap items. Okay, so you need to pick your market and get your message right. It's like having a sale. I won't mention names, but you've probably seen on television every week someone runs a sale.
That's true. They constantly open sales, and that's true. That's true.
Okay, so make it easier for your clients to buy from you is the next thing. If it's really clunky, if you're working online and your business is really, really clunky, it may be that the statistics you're getting about is saying that there's a lot of people coming to my site, but no one's buying. It may be that your system is so clunky that it's so hard for them to buy that they give up. So to increase your sales and also obviously to increase your profit, whatever you do in business, make it easier for your clients to buy from you. That could be at the counter or whatever it is. Any type of business, there's always somewhere. I used to have a mantra in business that I used to run called continuous improvement. There's always a way of continually improving the way you do things by using PDCA, if anybody's in quality management. They do check act, they do check act, they do check act. Just continue to do that over and over again. And make sure that when you're planning something, you do it, you implement it, and then check it. And anything that needs to be done in terms of errors, waste, or anything else, go back and plan again and change the plan.
Do you know what, Steve? Can I interrupt you? I want
Sure.
to, and I'm going to spring this on you on live. Yeah, are you ready?
I'm ready.
I feel like there is so much more. I'm just looking through my notes while we're speaking. We have so many more amazing strategies to share. I want to check with you, no putting you on the spot or putting you under pressure, but I feel like we should do a part B to
Okay,
this
sure.
HubLive and share the rest of the strategies. And I know I have them right here. They are absolutely amazing strategies in a part B to our HubLive.
Yeah.
Are you happy with that? Excellent.
We're actually up to number 10 of 23 ideas.
I know. I'm just rushing through them.
Yeah.
I feel like they're losing their gravity because each and every one of them are so valuable.
Yeah.
So, okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to have homework and you're going to have homework. Your homework first. Your homework is to take the last financial year's financials, so the 18-19 year, and go and play with the numbers and see if when you increase those 5 areas and decrease and increase those few areas by 5%, what will happen to your revenue and what will happen to your profit? What will happen if you increase it by 10%, 20%, 1%? Just go do a few different versions of those numbers. And then the second thing, what I'd like you to do is to take some of what we've already said and look at the one thing that you will or can do in each of those areas to either increase or decrease by 5 or 1 or whatever percentage that you have landed on. Then if you just have that list and you have a bit of an action plan and a strategy, of course you can start executing that. But what we'll do, now our homework, what we'll do is we will come back to you, I think next week. Cord, can we come back next week? Next Thursday, we'll be back with Steve and we will go through some of the other strategies that we haven't even touched on and tell you more examples and do more whiteboard math so that we can show you how to get even better ideas to increase or decrease the areas that you need to increase or decrease to make more profit. How does that sound? I think is that good for you? Yeah, awesome. So, and then Courtney has homework too. She's going to make everything happen, as she always does. The most pivotal, amazing person in the Smart Hub. Okay, so I think we have a great agreement. I'd like to kind of leave us today with a few mindset things around profit. And if we can maybe have like a 2-minute discussion.
Sure.
The first one is that profit should be an expense. Business owners should see profit as an expense. So profit isn't a luxury. Profit isn't the thing that you happen to make if you're lucky or when you're good at business. Profit is actually something that you absolutely have to make. And in your mind, if you see it as an expense in business, you will always work to meet those expenses. And if you have profit in your head as an expense, then you can ensure that at the end of the day, you've made that profit. Yeah. Is that, does that resonate with you?
That's resonation with me, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then the second thing that is something I learned a long time ago around profit, and that's in terms of your profit percentages. I read a really great book. It's called Simple Numbers. In fact, one of my very dear friends suggested the book to me. And it said that if your profit margin is 5% or less, your business is on life support. Now that definitely resonates or aligns with the experience that I've had with customers and clients. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So if you have a 5% or around 5% profit at the end of the day, you have to implement some of these strategies. Anything above 10% is really a lot better and a lot more palatable. So make profit a priority and make working towards making a profit a priority this year. And please join us again next Thursday. Steve, do you have any parting words of wisdom?
Just the one thing, when I implemented total quality management in the business I ran in Melbourne, there was 2 rings around everything else that you had to do in terms of leadership, policies, procedures, administration, and so on. And those 2 things were knowledge and information. So one of the things that we may, I think I've got in for next week anyway, is that if you haven't got the knowledge, you need to acquire it, because you only know what you know and you don't know what you don't know. And there's some things that you don't know that you do need to know to run a business. So continually improve and sharpen the saw, as Steve Cody would say, is to continue learning about the business so that you build that knowledge to take yourself forward. And the other one is information, which is part of measurement as well. So if you're measuring things and you get the information and the data in front of you to be able to make informed decisions about the way going forward, then you're going to be more successful than if you think, I'm just going to have a go.
Love it, love it, love it. Steve Bryant, iHelp Business Coaching, thank you so much for part A of how to make more profit. Really appreciate it. You've shared some amazing strategies with us today. I love the framework, the 5% rule. Absolutely love that as a starting point. Please join us again next week at 1 o'clock on Thursday, and we'll bring all of the other, how many do we have left? 13 strategies to you. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you then.
See you later.